to the Tech ID Ideation Forum Series. Today we are presenting a challenge. This happens to be a prize challenge. We present mostly solutions and work on the ideation of those solutions. But today we're working with the Central Florida Tech Grove, and we are bringing in the Army to talk about their goals and their ideas for a training burst. For a lot of people here, for everybody that's new, normally I do not allow note takers in here, but I allow them for the challenges, for the solutions, and really for everything. The idea and the goal is to have live interactive forum where we can exchange ideas, brainstorm, talk about people that we know, where there might be other solutions lurking in the in other industries and other sciences that might be applicable. We have a very broad community across many sciences, many industries, and we do that on purpose. We do that because it is that diversification that allows us to identify the odd things that you normally wouldn't take a look at, or you wouldn't connect, like a forensic solution to aircraft inspection, lightning detector to counter UAS, marine biology to aerodynamics. So those are the kind of things that we can help with, and that we really work with, and that's why this group is so broad. So anyway, the forums again they're live and interactive. We focus mostly on solutions and try and find cross-science, cross-industry applications for those solutions. We want to identify potential relationships. So if you know of somebody that may work in this field or may have a solution, please share it with them. This is an introduction to for the Tech Grove. This is an introduction to their on-site / virtual event, which is happening on the 15th. I saw somebody wrote something in there about the 15th, and I will let the Tech Grove talk about that. But today we're focused on Army training bursts. There's two things that I wanted to point out on what you're looking at on your screen, and this is where the community is our strength and the ecosystem is our strength, is that they want to better understand what industry and academia can provide today. So what is the current state of the art? Where are the gaps, or where do the gaps still exist? How can these capabilities work together? So if you're cyber and somebody else is IT, how can the two of you work together to solve this challenge? What solutions have you used, have you experienced, have you dealt with that could benefit the Army and the warfighter? And then down in the last paragraph here, the bottom line and what we're really trying to accomplish here is how can we create a secure, scalable, interoperable, AI-embedded digital environment that allows Army to rapidly train, transition, simulate, etc. And that is going to take a team. It's doubtful that any one organization, any one individual on this call will be able to solve this with their solution or their family of solutions. So you're going to need people in education that understand education and understand how to instruct and how to teach and how to train. You're going to have to bring in simulation people. You're going to have to bring in AI. There's just a whole slew. How is this going to look on whatever device it is that the warfighter is going to be using? Are they going to be using a cell phone or an ATAC? Are they going to be able to sit at in a conference room at a monitor? So all of this has to be taken into account, and that's really where we need to be thinking. So with all of that, I am going to, I think, first turn this over to the Central Florida Tech Grove to talk about what they're doing and to talk about the on-site event and the virtual event.
Awesome.
Okay,
thanks so much, Eugene. Yeah, thank you guys so much for being here. Looks like we've had a great turnout for this live session. My name is Casey. I work here at the Tech Grove as the program manager, overseeing this project for the Army. We're excited to host the Tabletop Exchange coming July 15th. That will be a virtual and in-person session. The virtual session will be ongoing throughout the whole day during the in-person session. We have dropped the link in the chat here if you are interested in registering for the event. Just click there and it'll take you through and allow you to register. And then with me today is our operations manager, which is Angie Baskins here, and she basically oversees everything here at the Tech Grove operationally. Now I'll turn it over to our SMEs here that we have in the room. Major Spies, if you want to lead off on what the challenge is and what you guys are looking for, I'll give it over to you.
Yeah, thank you. If Marwan is on this call, actually, if he wants to start off, I can go into my specific challenge after that. I don't want to steal his thunder. If Marwan, if you want to start there.
Marwan, if you want to introduce yourself and kind of give us the rundown.
No, absolutely. Hey, good afternoon, everyone. Let me turn my camera on so everybody's turning his camera. I think, definitely I'll just give you an overview quickly, and then I'll let Mr. Spees kind of talk about, our desire and state and so on. So when we talk about what the Army, you probably heard the Army training verse and so on, is a term kind of referred to transforming our live virtual constructive type of simulation portfolio for the Army, specifically to conduct training and extend it to testing and other simulation. So it's a critical initiative that allows us to inform that transforming, not just modernizing, but transforming our simulation products and simulation portfolio through this integrated live virtual constructive. And the way that one of the key pillar of it is to basically, we want to embed our live virtual constructive ecosystem within the weapon platforms. And thus we need to ensure that, hey, we need to leverage the data, the associated models that we do for our weapon platform and so on to kind of convert them into models that we can use within our digital, within our simulation ecosystem, if you will, to conduct training, warfighting, business decisions, and so on. So that's basically what the theme or call for the training verse. There's for this goal round, I would say we specifically have 3 challenges that we can talk about it here today. The 4th challenge is actually the capstone of all the challenges, the challenge 1, 2, and 3. We purposely kind of divided on 1, 2, and 3 and then have one capstone because we do recognize that there are industry partners. They may bring in some skill set different for each challenge. And then we encourage, obviously, partnership and so on to kind of bring it in and tackle 1, 2, or 3, or maybe the 4th one. That we're talking about. The first one is challenge 1 is the marketplace, and I'll let my teammate here kind of talk about it. I see that there's a question.
Yeah, there's a question. If we can go ahead and get that in. Go ahead, Michael.
Thank you. This is Mike McGinnis from UCOM, and the challenge that I'm looking at, what we're discussing here, is how closely we're aligning the requirements to either INDOPACOM or I'm sorry, PACOM, now that it's been revised, or EUCOM requirements? Are we going after the generalization of we think we need these requirements?
That's a good question, right? So I think you're probably tracking that we haven't gone to this is Army talk now. So we have, I would say, is probably we have existing requirements and legacy program that define the requirements that for us, at least on a training side for INDOPACOM, what those enablers are, which basically we reflect down JPMRC and some of the simulation geolytic type and requirement that addresses the warfighter for PACOM, as well as for European, we have programs that have this kind of requirement. But this particular effort is basically we're also working with our partners on this new concept of requirement called characteristics of need. You've probably heard of it, where there's a definition with the vision on the whole training simulation, and then needed will be that modern requirement addressing each warfighter and then each COCOMs and so on. So that work is in progress right now. Did that address your question, sir?
Partially. And the secondary and the follow-on question to all of this is, what do you perceive as the impact of the direct report for portfolio management of drone technologies will have on your efforts?
Actually, that's another good question, right? So we're working right now with, you probably, you're talking about the direct report that the memo that got signed last month, I believe, for US and counter US ZAR, right? So we're definitely the things impact not everything in our portfolio, but significant amount of our portfolio. The way that we instrument, what all instrumentation associated with it, what those capabilities are for drones and counter drones. That's Major Speed is going to talk to you about that needs here today. And what this one of them is a challenge 3 you can see there on the drones and counter drone measures. How do we represent them in live, virtual, constructive, and as well, how do we, replicate the threats? Not just to use them from an operation standpoint, but use them from a threat perspective, and what are those capabilities that we want to kind of counter them. So there is this, it is one of our top priorities. A touch that has significant impact towards this modernization effort.
No, I appreciate that. And part of me, looking at it from the EUCOM, I am the R&E LNO for EUCOM. So I am the one who tries to say, hey, this is what R&E is looking for. Bring me your problem set. I'm looking at what you're talking about and saying, okay, how is it that what you're doing fits into what R&E is currently doing or future doing? And I look forward to the future discussion to see how this plays out.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I mean, feel free to reach out. I mean, maybe Casey can reach out, provide my contact info and Major Speeds, and we can have a more in-depth discussions, and we'll share with you things like, where we're at and what we are doing right now from an acquisition standpoint, and what are some of the challenges, both technical and acquisition math type of thing. So we're looking forward to that discussion. I think that would probably provide the overview. I'll let Major Speeds probably going into each of the challenge, and and then feel free to, if you have any questions, I'll jump in.
Yeah, let me go ahead and share that again, Major. All right.
Yeah, thanks, Marwan. Good afternoon, everyone. Major Dan Spees. I work on product manager live training systems. So the challenge I'm going to present today is challenge 3. We were kind of talking around it in that last conversation, but overarching, we know that unmanned aerial systems are becoming a larger threat and are going to be an integral part of the battlefield going forward. What we also know from our side, on the training side, is that there is a diverse set of unmanned aerial systems coming to the training environment that need integration across separate platforms, across many different types of groups of drones, and across many different vendors. What our challenge is how do we integrate those into the live and virtual training space? So what we need help on is creating a repository, a method of integration to allow a user to bring whatever platform they are trained on or use into the virtual training space, gather valuable training through that, and additionally on the live training space when they come to training events. So coming through the integration across a large variety of them, and that includes both in the reconnaissance realm as well as in the lethality package side. Sir, go ahead for that question.
Thank you. The question I have is, are you integrating with Christian Alexander, who is the assessments lead for OSD, RNE, RSW, PNE, who does assessments, and they're looking at how is best to assess capability going forward for the combatant command and the joint requirement?
I would say at my level, we have not integrated with that side. And Marwan may have a better answer on that. But we have not. And again, I think I saw a question there about APIs. That would be another challenge to this. But it would be a challenge we have to address. And it may be, it's going to be difficult at our level. And also doing it across domains with other program management shops. But no, we have not. It's a long answer to we have not integrated with that side about their assessments.
And I would highly encourage to at least reach out and touch base with her organization. And the whole concept is part of the problem going forward with moving technology through the pipeline is everyone wants their own assessment. And what the intent of Ms. Alexander's organization is to create a common taxonomy who says, we've looked at everyone's requirements. These are the common ones we want to at least assess a technology for. And so instead of saying, well, I didn't agree on this technology, or I didn't assess that threshold or objective point of, I would highly encourage you to reach out to them and say, either Mike Tran or Christian Alexander, and say, hey, this is what the OSW is looking at and saying, this is how we're going to assess technologies they're looking at, so we can properly align the process so that everyone is in sync with how we move things forward.
Absolutely. And I think you're right on there, because then we would know the problems or know what the baseline is coming into the integration space, which is what we need to do. Because that as we go, we are not the product developer of these UAS platforms, but we need to integrate them into a training environment. So understanding that baseline would be key. I agree with that. That's a very good point, sir. I appreciate that. We'll definitely be reaching out to them.
Yeah, those sound like they're more. I mean, I appreciate the comments, Michael. Those sound more programmatic, and really we want to use this hour to find out more about what is the current state of the art, what all of our attendees here have that they can provide to help solve this, the development of this platform, and what kind of gaps they can see that we can avoid going in.
No, that sounds great. And I would highly ask, are you integrated with the PE or the, what are they calling them themselves today? Portfolio Development, Ms. Worthy, Dr. Worthy, and her joint domain Dr. Worthy's portfolio.
Right.
Yeah, whatever
Yeah,
it's
no,
called.
they are. Yeah, they are part of the ecosystem.
Because she's starting a whole new COI, and so I, as a combatant command lead, am sitting in all of these disparate activities, all of them touching on similar things, none of which are coalescing. So I would ask at the OSW level, get your things worked out and say who's going forward.
And I don't disagree with your point, sir. And I think that's right on. I think in our training environment, what we do here at ST3, we do accept that. We have to accept that we do work in a disparate environment, and that's not unique to drones. We have different combat, ground combat vehicle platforms that are all disparate vendors with required disparate integration. So I think our problem set is not necessarily different in the drone space. It is more challenging in some respects, but that's kind of what we need to look at is, can I create a training environment where I can, readily input different drone platforms to do virtual training or to do live training. I think that's kind of what we're getting at. And I 100% agree with all your points. I think you're right on. But I think we have to accept in the training environment that we will always have disparate inputs. Marwan, please go ahead.
Hey, no, I appreciate it. Thanks for Major Speeds. This is great. So, hey, this is what I'll offer. I think this is a really great conversation. I think from our UCOM partners there. Let's take that offsite and have no kidding. Like, this discussion is a good point and identifying those contacts and so on. We do work collaboratively within the Army, within the PAE and JOPS and all these new organizations with SNT. I think maybe it's worthy to, I don't want to just take a lot of folks in their time, right? You got 80 people online here. Probably they don't want to hear this government talk, right? I think probably want to just engage that and have this collaboration, and then we get into the, that's my recommendation, get into the challenge at hand,
Yeah, I appreciate that, and please, add the Tech Grove and myself to these conversations, because that'll help us to identify any additional expertise we need to bring in. I mean, do we need to bring in the National Guard? I mean, are they part of this, or is this just going to be Army proper?
And from a combatant command, I'm assuming right now I'm the only combatant command online. I'm happy to hear any of my other combatant commands roll up. But we are ultimately those who say this is what we need. And so understanding and identifying closely with what we say we need is almost key to moving forward. Yes, you can look at our IPLs, you can look at our CGA requirements. Day-to-day discussions is how we get forward. And I've got counterparts on every one of the combatant commands, and I can happy to put us in contact with all of them on any working process you're looking at.
And are you still, Major, you may or may not know, but are you still using Pathfinder? Catalyst Pathfinder or Pathfinder Catalyst?
No, I am not.
Okay.
My major days were done, 17 years ago?
Oh.
I'm now a civilian. So thank you very much. But no, I'm a GS-15 working as the OSW R&E, P&E, L&O for UCOM for the past 17 years. Okay. And so I have close connections to all of my counterparts across the combatant commands. So I'm happy to bring us together for a particular project, or broadly speaking, across all of the combatant commands, in order to ensure a particular project has the requisite support going forward.
All right, so Major Speeds, if we can shift gears here and start talking about what your requirements are, and then for the audience, again, if you have solutions, you need to go ahead and bring them up. Al, you've put a couple things in the comments. I prefer that you ask your questions rather than put them in the comments. So I see your hand up, Bill. I'm going to give Al an opportunity to talk about what he's put in the chat about APIs. I really think that is important here. And for everybody on the call, I only scheduled one presentation for today. Normally we do two. So if this runs over, if people can stay, I'm more than happy to keep this going until 3:00 if that's what it takes. Go ahead, Al.
Yes. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. So I was looking at what you're saying here with dealing with drone technology. It's very similar to what you would do with existing air defense systems. So I was looking at, say, do you have, were you looking at using like existing technology to build a combat information system? So utilizing intrusion detection systems merged along with identify friend or foe to communicate to external devices what you're going to do to deploy and address the threat, okay? This would imply also that you have an API, application programming interfaces for the drone technology, the information system you may simulate. Are you going to have a need to communicate with other combat information systems, like an Aegis system, as an example? And is the Missile Defense Agency already working on solutions that will become part of this as interface requirements, as an example?
Yeah, so those are all great questions, and I'll start from where you start off there. That is exactly what we would like to get to. We don't currently do that right now with using an IFF-like technology to feed through a combat-based platform. We would very much so like to have that capability or leverage something like that. What I would offer is that in the training environment, we would also like the ability to be able to manipulate, is probably the better word, to change what the characteristics of the identifying of that drone might be. What I will say is we would like the capability in the live side. If there was a drone that needed to behave like a different type of drone, and I'll use a simple example. If I have a RF-based drone and I want it to be a fiber optic drone, I would like the ability to change that what it is emitting as, if that makes sense in a training environment. That's a simple example, right? Right. But I think something like that, leveraging a technology like IFF and even a combat-based combat platform to track and drones allows us to induce effects on them, especially in the live side. Now I'm talking the live training side, because we have some limitations in safety, right? I can't fly fiber optics. I can't actually shoot the drones down. For safety perspective, we don't want group 2 and 3 drones falling out of the sky and landing on soldiers. So I think that kind of interface of some kind would be very useful. I am not aware of the Missile Defense Agency doing any work on this, but I can't say I've done a lot of touch points with them on this interface. We have had some discussions with SOCOM on some of the technology they're using, but it has limited use in that it will do some things, but not others. But I think the overall concept of what you're saying, Al, it could definitely be leveraged. Did I answer all those questions?
Yes. The one thing I would point out is you can save a lot of money, time, and effort if you do a research on what the other potential parts of the Army or vendors have existing that may get you close to the solution rather than try to reinvent it.
Absolutely. No, that's a really good point. Thank you.
Okay.
All right, Bill, go ahead.
Hi, Dr. Bill Goodman, CEO of Goodman Technologies. So one of the things that we developed based on codified requirements to 10 AMDC over NUCOM, specifically Brigadier General Curtis King, was an autonomous robotic ground vehicle that has a full AI stack that can do real-time data fusion and can identify, target, and track. And later on in the year, met with one of the 3 stars briefly. And one of the key requirements was be able to distinguish between a bird and a drone at 5 kilometers. and we have a solution for that. In fact, that kind of solution's been around for a long time. It's just integrating it into an autonomous system. So I just wanted to make you all aware of that. We did show our robot in Nevada at an NDIA event recently, and we were also a prize winner recently in Georgia with a UCF event put on by the Pentagon and CERTA. So we're just trying to make sure that the word gets out that there's already some solutions here, and they directly address what you're trying to do. Thank you.
Okay. This is Mike McGinnis from UCOM. Has a Dr. Mike Tran reached out to you and talked to you about your capability?
No, sir.
Okay. What I would highly recommend, and I will put his information into the chat, is Dr. Mike Tran is the OSW RNE P&E lead for taking technologies that have been identified through the multiple OSW activities and said, because there is a two-part process that they have established, which is one, you bring your technology to a T-Rex that validates your technology, and then you bring your technology to a joint requirement experimentation venue where you certify it. And they have OSW assigned capabilities to say to service PAEs in the new vernacular, former PEOs, that this meets the technology requirements outlined there, and you're not PowerPoint deep, because too many of the technologies we have, and I have experienced it myself, are PowerPoint deep. They have the idea, they say we can set up, but they don't achieve provable results. So my recommendation is reach out to Mike Tran, reach out to Dr. Alexander, both of which are part of the setting up of and getting you into a T-Rex or J-Trex and getting you an assessment team to say, yes, we agree with what you are saying you're capable of.
All right. Thank you, Michael. I want to go ahead and we still have to address what the challenge is here. So I'm going to put everybody on hold for a little bit until we get through the challenge and what the requirements are. So go ahead, Major.
Yeah. So I've addressed a lot of the live side of what I would like to transition to is addressing virtual. So what the requirements are for a virtual trainer is the ability to input UAS platforms, various types, and group 1s to group 3 into a virtual battle space to allow for training prior to going to a live fire event, and then also allow for training of employment in a collective training environment. So I just want to kind of highlight that those are some of the requirements we're looking for as well in a drone space. If I might hand it over to Marwan for a second. If I'm missing something, Marwan, please jump in on that side. I know I've talked a lot about drones and we have some other challenges. I don't know if we want to address those as well.
Hey, no, I appreciate it. I think, yeah, so I think this for challenge 3, I think we want to absolutely measure speeds, kind of articulated the live use cases. And when I say live training, that means instrumenting the various drones our unit bring in to the fight, the CTCs and so on. How can we do that in a cost-effective manner? Because we've started already doing that, but we want to get more efficient on doing it. And we're sending it to both in Europe and PACOM theaters. But also to do that, right, we need to kind of bring in the virtual synthetic kind of environment to allow the users or the warfighter to kind of rehearse, train, and at the point of need is training, rehearsing on these new drones that he got, how to operate it, how to employ it. And then even unit to know how do we counter these drones as threats, right, in a virtual domain and build this kind of skill set. So we're looking at some commercial solutions as adaptable and so on that allow so we can deploy in our networks for the warfighter to use that to kind of rehearse and so on. That's the virtual use cases of representation for drone and counter drone measures for our soldiers. That's challenge 3 per se. That's the any questions on challenge 3 before we move on to the other one? All right, sir.
All right. So, do we want to start bringing in people with solutions before we go on to 1 and 2, or do you want to go on into 1 and 2 and then start discussion solutions?
Oh, I can go into 1 and 2 real quick. There's not much time left, right? So I'll just go rapidly, and then Major Speeds can jump in if need to expand on it. So challenge 1 is very straightforward. Is the concept of marketplace. The marketplace essentially, we're bringing our portfolio, live virtual constructed portfolio. It's like $2.6 billion of portfolio. Significant of it is modern simulation, commercial type of capabilities that we want to bring it into a marketplace in the form that our US counterparts kind of already did that. But we want to have an enterprise modern simulation marketplace that allow us to kind of put these commercial products into that we vet, right? You guys competing and we vet these capabilities, and we want to bring them into our warfighter so we can procure them. That's one. The second thing is that marketplace is also kind of like a collaborative environment where assets that we bought, the Army bought, is going to be accessible to our across the Army and the Joint Force to allow models exchanges, assets exchanges, game engines and game licenses, and so on, to allow exchanges of those assets in rapid fashion. That's the thing of it. So think of it as like a marketplace. What we envision is something Amazon-like platform that are in the commercial space we do on a day-to-day basis. So how do we do that, and how do we move forward with developing and sustaining it, and so on. So we're looking for this kind of measures there for challenge 1. Challenge 2 is simulation centric. So now that we're establishing this challenge 1, the marketplace we call, or the common the collaborative environment where some of the asset we buy or asset that are already procured, how can we take this data, those models and data, particular data that we kind of get from the various weapon platforms, and convert them into models that we can inject into the Army simulation environment. Army simulation environment meaning products and simulation engines that are used in Unreal, Unity, Atom Engine, and so on, the various game engine. And right now for the challenges, just any commercial game engines. You guys, for the model simulation, if you're in that domain, you got plenty of open source game engines. And for the purpose of this challenge, we're open to any one of them. But the idea is just how do you convert that data into agents that we can, quickly in rapid fashion and can be scaled to basically across the PAE, across our warfighting functions, to enable to generate those models that we need to inject to the simulation environment. So that's challenge 2. So we spoke about challenge 1, challenge 2, and then challenge 3. I think we talked about it in depth. The last challenge is basically the combination for all, right? If somebody has an innovative approach, a commercial solution, or any kind of innovative approach that's showing me like, hey, this is a marketplace like that, the collaborative environment. This is where the authoritative data sources that's going to be residing there. This is the digital pipeline, and this is the associated standards that we can take these data and convert them into models at speed using all intelligent type of mechanisms and tool set and technology stack, and then convert them into models that we can put in a simulation environment, and then represent that in a game that shows drones and counter drones and measures of training and how we can do that. That we just talked about challenge 3. That's basically the capstone. And for that, whomever doing that, that's just that challenge 4, and there's a prize associated with that. That's basically essentially all the challenges, and this is what just in a quick few minute type thing.
Like I said, I think, and we're going to stay on here as long as everybody wants to stay on here. So I want to call out Terry Guild. Are you getting the information that you were hoping to get I mean, I appreciate your candidness, and so that's why I'm asking you to help us out here.
No, I appreciate the comeback. I think we got a little bit sidetracked for 35 minutes. There's a lot of industry capabilities out there, but the last 10 minutes has been extremely useful for us to kind of see what our capabilities are and how we can integrate and meet some of the requirements. So this was very helpful.
Okay, is there anything that you wanted to address? Any questions about specific applications?
Well, I'd like to see how this is integrated with the modernization of Joint Live Virtual Constructive underneath the Joint Staff J7. We talked a little bit about disparate functions across the services. The J7 has been working on JLVC with 38 separate and stovepipe modeling and simulation capabilities across the services. So how do you see this challenge fitting into JLVC? And are you guys taking advantage of what JLVC is currently doing?
Yeah, no, I appreciate it. I think that's good. So yeah, we're working with the joint staffs. I mean, as you're probably aware of, and forgive me if you already know this, but we're engaged in a major investment on modernization program called Next Gen Constructive, basically replacing our legacy suite of Gelictic, and we used Gelictic as the land as the land component of the joint staff, and we have gateways and interfaces to that environment. So we're working part of the modernization of NGC is working with JStaff on what would be those modern interfaces that allow us to work within the modern JLVC, and we are the land component of it. What we are trying to do, at least from a technical perspective, we're trying to push the envelope a little bit more than the traditional live virtual constructive. And if you're probably familiar with our domain, everything is IEEE driven with DIS, HLA, FOM type of federated approach to more, hey, how can we push the envelope? And this part of this challenge is why I emphasize the challenge too, and there's the data standards associated with it. How do we move to more the data driven and operability approach, so we can see if that's feasible, and then kind of inform the J7, hey, this is the future standard, right? If you want to, no kidding, have organic interoperability and minimize the duplication of the modeling and simulation breakthrough silo that you talked about. Let's go beyond just the IEEE base driven interoperability that we currently do with the J7 teammate.
Yeah, thank you for that. It's very helpful.
This is Eugene. So Chris Franz put something in, and I may have missed it because I'm bouncing back and forth here. But what simulation capabilities are you looking for? I mean, you talk about virtual, but are you also including simulation capabilities?
One second. Yeah. So I think when we say simulation to us, so when we really talk about simulation for us is like, hey, the game engine suite that we already kind of, I mean, right now for the prize, right, for the purpose of the prize, right, because we're vetting this product, commercial or open source type of simulation type of engines are the one we're looking for. Easy and real common type of engines that we want these kind of models to kind of represent it in that environment, in that environment, to see how feasible that is. And then when I said about the virtual is that what are the virtual, I mean, take that game, for example, what are the scenarios that can kind of allow our warfighter to kind of like translate the game engine into a virtual product. So that way soldiers can go and train on it, our warfighter are training on it, going through scenarios within the game platform to allow us to kind of rehearse it. So it's a simulation in terms of context, in terms of taking those models and representing them. And then we converted that into a virtual capability to allow when it's a warfighter operating in it to get value out of it. That's what you see that challenge 3 specifically for drones, drones and counter drones representation within the virtual platform, a virtual environment.
All right, thank you. And now I'm going to go back to the community. Questions about your capabilities, how they would apply, questions about what capabilities they're looking for. This is your chance. we need to get them out there. So unmute and ask your questions. All right, I'm not hearing anybody. Okay, so
well, I'll just go ahead just to say, I mentioned in the chat that we're in the UCF Business Incubator. We've got a specific technology that gets data for water underwater. It can be used for various purposes. And what we want to do is be able to train people to do it and make it available through the streams that we're talking about. And I mean, I'm just saying that's where we are. We're, yet to have our first sale, but it's a product that we think could be very useful in these purposes. It's like a drone, but for water. I call it a water Roomba. We collect data on the water, not dust. That's it.
Yeah. Okay. So, I want to go ahead. So, Root, did I get that right? I'm not going to try that.
Yeah.
Linswala?
Yeah.
So, you're asking about, basically, I guess you're looking at wargaming modeling and simulation. I don't know. My question is.
Yeah. We want to get it in your system so you can see usefulness that we can't even imagine. We want to game it for you, but help us start, and we will. We have resources.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, you said in UCF, so close. That's just next to me. So just welcome. Come on in. I mean, tabletop, and we'll welcome you next week, and we'll talk about it. We'll move forward, right? I mean, yeah, absolutely. Yeah, we have a tabletop to just actually address those kind of things. Absolutely. Yeah, we'll bring it in.
Thank you.
Right, so,
thank you. We will tabletop.
All right. So go ahead, Root.
Yeah. Hey. Yeah. So actually, just want to kind of let you guys first of all kind of give a bit of background. So we're developing a wargaming simulation type of software, and all of it is probabilistic, but also physics based. And so, how important is it for you guys? Again, the training is one portion, but having this mission critical, realistic wargaming scenarios, how critical is it for you guys to perform this as there are other software like and H and others are there for various different, DOW departments. So can you speak a little bit about that?
I would say, yeah, so that's a good question too, right? So from a training perspective, you probably well know, right? You know this very well. We don't heavily use level of fidelity. We use physics based. I mean, we do physics based type of models, but it's not at the level of fidelity that probably the experimentation community and the analysis community do, right? I mean, it's just because of our portfolio, but it doesn't mean that we don't have the need, right? Because we are starting this. When I say this concept of reverse, yeah, it's starting with a training kind of lens into it, but we wanted to intended to kind of extend it, right? That's what we have extended to the experimentation community. What our Army senior leaders expect us of, and they direct us to do, is to not have various different products. I have a product for simulation to do experimentation. I got one to do training. And for example, next-gen constructive, it is like, hey, there's the composition to conduct not just the warfighter exercise that we conduct, but it should be composed to allow for experimentation and have to be able to do that kind of analysis and in-depth, high-fidelity work. Now it's up to us, and working with your innovators and so on. How can we build this architecture that allow us to be composable? And that's why we call this verse. How to kind of have these data elements that that a warfighter can go in and compose and be able to conduct a training event that probably doesn't need the level of fidelity, but we need more of a breadth that allow us to conduct that exercise. Or maybe I'm in some lab analysis and I want to go deep dive on that vehicle, and I don't care about the breadth. That's more of a depth. I need to work on, I don't know, an XM30 engine, and I need to go to the level of how can we allow them from an environment, a single environment. So I envision this Army verse. When you log in, you make those calls, just write it, calls that you call into the back end, and you compose new models, new things, and be able to do that. As you know, right now, we're very siloed. We have a system that does X and cannot be composed to do multiple things. And that's what we're trying to go after right now with this challenge.
Okay, I see. And is there also are you guys using large compute, like supercomputers, because we also have actually a good relation with ERDC. I guess that's close to where you guys may be at as well. The Army ERDC.
The Tech Grove should be tied in with ERDIC.
Yeah. So yeah, I think that were like, especially if you're potentially talking about, let's say, higher fidelity modeling and simulation, utilization of these facilities, the high performance computing facilities, I think that ties in quite well to what I think Marvin, you were talking about right just now, that the need isn't necessarily on the higher accuracy, but it's actually the breadth, and also looking into making sure that it doesn't take a huge amount of time to get the results back. That's usually the bottleneck that comes with higher fidelity. So that's something that we're working quite closely with these facilities as well. Also with like HPC MP, for example, as well.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.
All right, Casey, you had something?
Yeah, I just wanted, for everybody that's on the call, I want to also just tell you guys that the prize challenge is live. So even if you don't plan on attending the tabletop exchange and you think that you already have a solution to one of these challenges that Marwan is talking about, we're going to drop the prize challenge link in the chat, and you can go ahead and apply for, one of the challenges that you think you have a solution for. So that is live and going, and we'll make sure you have the details for that. But I just wanted to make sure I mentioned that it's there. If you're ready to submit, then please do so. And Angie has just dropped that into the chat, so you guys can take a look at that.
Okay. Yeah, I do want to add too. I'm going to go ahead and take the document off. But I do want to add that you don't have to come with the full solution. That if you have a piece of the solution and you're willing to team with other pieces, that is going to be a key aspect to this as well.
I think it's dead. Did it work? Yeah, it works for me. Okay. We just clicked on the link, Jack, and it's working on our end. It might be maybe what browser you are using. Awesome.
Okay.
And yes, just like Eugene said, in the prize challenge link, like you don't have to apply to all of the challenges, right? But if you have a solution to just one of them, there's an option there to go ahead and submit for challenge 1, 2, 3, 4. So if you go onto the page, it'll explain everything in depth.
Okay. So let's go ahead and move on. Al?
Yes. Just a point to note, it is a data communication network. Usually what happens is networks get overwhelmed with data, roughly at 70%. So you usually want to keep the network data flowing through the system at 50% or lower with the reserve in case you have emergencies. Is that part of the requirement? Or is that something you're going to do an integration and make sure you don't saturate the simulation network or a real-time combat system? How are you going to deal with that?
Yeah, no, I think absolutely. This is part of our evaluation, part of the, I think part of challenge 3. I think we put some criteria there, but it's, again, part of our evaluation to see how this is going to be scalable. It means like how, how much traffic it's going to produce, particularly for the intended environments. I mean, these capabilities are going in first to our CTCs, particularly on PACOM, Europe. So we're familiar with our networks because we're fielding stuff right now. But we're going to evaluate and see whatever capability you provide, how does its impact on the network. And then once we are beyond the challenge, I mean, we are going to do some beyond the challenge once we're on the actual agreement, more in-depth of a test. But yeah, definitely we're going to look into it and evaluate it for that for the network transport.
I mean, I've worked in the past. It's not uncommon for someone to come up with a great solution that saturates the communication system, so you can't really use it until they streamline it.
I want to add to. Yeah, no, that's a great point, because part of this effort, and please, Casey, for you to jump in here, so we're going to do a demos. I mean, it's not just So I would like to see what you guys have. Like you bring it in, and we're going to see it. We're going to bring our subject matter experts and judges, and they're going to be part of judges, some SMEs, and which will look at it. And not only are you going to evaluate the paper, but we'll look at it and give you opportunity to kind of demonstrate what their capabilities and that capability, and we'll opportunity to ask those kind of questions as well.
Thank you.
Yeah, Marwan, on that, once, and for the team, once you have submitted your solution to the prize challenge page there, Marwan and his team, they will start looking at those solutions, and they'll start determining, who he thinks has a viable solution. And then once he has gathered, say he wants to do, the top 10 solutions that he sees, depending on which challenge you've submitted to, then you will be invited to do a demonstration day with his team and judges. And then during that demonstration day, you'll be selected, if you are one of the top 3 or top 5, however Marwan and his team decides, awarded that prize challenge the day of demo. If that gives a little bit more clarity of how that's going to proceed.
Okay. James, you're up. James, I can't hear you.
How about now?
There we go. That's good. That works.
Okay, sorry about that. I'm with Daniel H. Wagner Associates. We're a tracking data fusion and lots of other things, but we have a multiple hypothesis distributed data fusion engine that has been demonstrated in multiple Navy and Air Force environments, including modeling and sim. As well as working with real sensor data, everything from radar, ESM, passive and active sonar, UAS and commercial related sensor feeds like ADS-B, AIS, all that stuff. So we have experience dealing with the messiness of real data in real situations, as well as modeling and sim, and creating or cleaning up the common operational or tactical picture, including integrated network environments. So I guess the question is, would such a real fusion engine like ours fit into your training objectives? I think it would be a good fit, but I don't want to waste anyone's time if you don't think that would be useful.
Yeah, I think it's very hard for me to say right now. I mean, again, we have an open forum next week, and more like down to more than an hour, in which you can talk about what capability that is, and then you'll understand a little bit more what we're looking for, and then see if that's something, as again probably was mentioned earlier, is this something, maybe it's not something explicitly we're looking for, but maybe something an enabler to somebody that's probably have something, right? Maybe we're partner with him. But traditionally, like when we buy things, we don't just buy a component, a sensor, it's like a system type of capability. But again, looking forward to talk about your data ecosystem. Work was that a sense of you tech stack associated with it? How does it enable some of this, either challenge 2 or challenge 3 kind of thing? So bring it in, and then we'll go from there. Or we'll just attend and we can discuss it.
Okay, we'll plan to attend.
Thank you.
Yes, sir. Thanks. Brandon Land from Radium Industries. Quick question. Beyond the price challenge, is CPE ST3 or Army CPE planning creative work, OTA, or other pathways beyond just the addition of this? I think this is where some of the friction from industry is coming from, or the viable inputs, I guess, that kind of led this from OUSD R&E's side with Dr. Tran. Is a lot of this is occurring. You're talking to a veteran with almost 20 years in JSOC here. I watch this every day. Now I'm fundraising $100 million. And I'm like, where do we put it? As we chase this, I see some smiles. Thank you. I'm not smiling on the inside. It's where we task the team, because we're doing this right now under JIATA 401 with the colonel's team right now. They're trying to factor in this. I lived in Ukraine for a year. This is a problem. It's a big problem. And I think marrying up to know where these requirements are going, there's a ton of viable solutions and names that are on this call that I'm looking at. I'm like, wow, there's some really good stuff here. It's the, how do we get the SDKs out? How do we get the APIs out? How do we get the right dev teams and partners together? And who's driving that? Is that decision coming from the CPE through ST3? And I guess I'm loading that up, so I'll back off from that. But really, is there a pathway beyond, like where's the next transition point beyond just a cool prize challenge and scoring paper check?
So, no, that's a good question.
Let me throw my hat in there.
Yeah, go ahead.
Marwan. So we can do that with our full capability from the Wazoku platform. We could manage everything for you. The collaborations, all of that.
Yes, sir. Okay, great. Because I just was in the room in Detroit Arsenal 2 days ago. I'm in Grand Rapids, Michigan today. I was in Austin 3 days ago, I think. And there's different touch points between the Arsenal down south, Huntsville, and just the different touch points where this crosses between Army fires and their control systems and each CPE getting a vote, and then ensuring that those CPEs are driving forward. Because really, I just came off a call with 10th Mountain talking about this into JRTC, and they're like, hey, how do we do this? And I'm like, Softworks is, go ahead.
What we need to do is we need to penetrate all the silos and connect them. And that is what technology ideation does. And that's why the Tech Grove is here, because we are able to do that. We're able to penetrate the silos. We're able to find the obscure solutions that exist beyond Raytheon and Lockheed and all of those people. We can find them in the innovation hubs across the U.S. and across the globe.
Yes, sir. Understood. Do you foresee integration into Lattice or Palantir for data systems today and then back out, which is the real time, what fighters are using? I say fighters. What our soldiers and airmen, sailors, Marines are using today as part of that test model? Because it's just being broken down. I think Dr. Alex Miller led a heck of an effort out in Colorado with Carson, trying to do a jailbreak, but this sounds like a real jailbreak type environment where you bring folks in the room. And maybe I'm overstepping that from industry, so forgive me on that, but it's really like how we get together. And then the collaboration, I'm assuming what I'm understanding of the environment is Marwan's team at the PM level or the director level driving the right innovative solutions to edge. Over.
Yeah. Let me jump in if you don't mind. It's a good, Yeah, let me go back to your point, right? Is this a Marwan thing only and having a good time with his prize challenge? That's why I was smiling, right? This is just me coming up with my team, whiteboarding, and get some money. Let's go out. I wish if that was the case. I mean, most of the time I ask my CPE or my PAE to kick me out of the room for my money, but just kidding. But no, this is supported by the PAE. Not only our PAE, Mr. Walsh, is also the PA Maneuver Ground, General Tooley. It's probably, you're familiar with. We just briefed them I think last week. It's supported on this thing, right? So it's not an exercise of like what school things it is. There's no kidding. We're in speed. That's why you see UAS and counter UAS. Yeah, you're going to see everybody's doing that. But you know what, though? Acknowledge that. I'd rather have an overlap and deliver capability at speed than have everybody trying to bring, let's not overlap and then we're not bringing anything because we're trying to. It's okay. As long as we're delivering capability, we're buying aggressively, what our fighter needs. Then it's okay if there's an overlap. There's overlap even with the paradigm, the previous acquisition paradigm that we have. So that's what's driving this thing. Literally, I think, where right now is probably, we're having no kidding, a warfighter maneuver conference that's on the 15th September, where we're due out to provide our brief to General Tooling. So where we at? Is there any kind of possible solutions out there? How do we put these things, commercial solutions, into the marketplace and challenge one for soldiers to buy, not only program of record, not only to say, yep, is CPE, SC3 program of record, XYZ have the dollars to pursue it and fund it, but also what the unit has and funding that we have. We do that right now in the Pacific. Literally, we have funding within programs and actually the program dollars is actually challenging. And actually, we're going to unit other program called Tech Money, Transformation and Context, resources to focus on Indo-PACOM to get capabilities now. So, so that's why I'm saying we're moving in to see what the key is, what the focus is not really if we're going to buy this, right? The question is what is going to provide us the operational outcome that we're going to tell, yep, this is has value to a warfighter. And not only Marwan say that, the actual warfighters like Major Spees and so on kind of look at it and say, yep, this is what we need. And we're going to put that and deliver that. We put an agreement or whatever you think of. That's what we did price challenge. It could be an OTA, it could be a FAR base, whatever the contract mechanism to get a capability quickly into the field, one, and two, to the marketplace for other units beyond the program dollars to go and buy that capability to the warfighter. So that's what this exercise of the price challenge is intended to do. Is post-December, which is I think this is what the award is at ITSIC, is we're going to look in and make those agreements based on what we evaluated and what we think is operational, has the operational outcome that is going to get us there. So, and then we'll make those agreements and procurements and so on beyond that. Did that help answer your question, sir?
That's it, man. You hit it, Marwan. Thanks, sir. I figured there's like, if it's coming from DE3 level Army transverse training, that it's the update to NGC. That's how I'm reading it. But you read these things blind out here, and it's like, is this a solicitation? Is this a hustle to government to try to like source what's next? Forgive me on poor choice of words. Public school trained here.
It's a collaborative effort. It's a focus to build a collaborative effort.
Okay, thanks.
All right. So I want to take a minute here real quick just to say for a second, register. If you can't be there in person, register for the virtual events. I've been to the last two. I won't be able to make the next one. I will be traveling for another project, but they are incredible value, especially if you plan to submit the information that you gain from these virtual on-site event on the 15th is going to be. It's going to give you a leg ahead of anybody that wasn't here today and isn't there on the 15th. All right, so Terry, go ahead.
Yeah, thanks. We've got a couple small SIBRs that we work on. One complete, one is about at the end of its lifespan. If we've got a technology or capability that we think is relevant from a SIBR, is this something that we're excluded from on a prize challenge?
I'm not tracking that, so I'm not excluding SIBR. I'm looking at any capabilities that we can unless there's something my team can jump in if there's anything like any kind of exceptions on prize challenge, but I'm not tracking that. I'm looking forward to anything, SIBR, if it's SIBR phase 2, whatever, we'll look at it. And if we need to, again, we're looking, as probably right? We're looking particularly commercial ready products, solutions, right? Hey, solutions to get us there, because I don't have time. The less development, the better for us to just get integrated into the ecosystem. Less development, the better. Actually, if I prefer no development, more integration, that's even better, right? You got something great. Interfaces have been defined. Let's integrate it and move out, and send it out to the various ranges and CTCs. So that's what we're looking for. And I don't have any. I'm not tracking any exceptions on any SIBR as far as participating.
All right, perfect. Thank you.
Yeah, I would just think that would help you get to the funding faster.
Yeah. We'll look at it. I don't know what that SIBR is, which phase it is, but absolutely, yeah. Yep.
All right, so this is Eugene again, Marwan. I have a question that I wanted to ask about the. I guess it's the challenge 1. You were talking about creating an Amazon or a storefront kind of a thing. Would that be part of the GSA schedule? Because I don't think they do individual schedules now. How do you envision that?
So I'll tell you, I think this is. Things might change with this environment. The marketplace concept is changing because a lot of our things that everyone is doing within the PAE is cross PAEs and so on. So don't hold me what I said today on it, right? But right now is what I envision as the great model right now is the UAS model, and literally we meet you know, I just met with them this morning, our teammates in Huntsville and the product managers there. So they have a very good model in terms of Amazon platform, like, you know, and we want to use that as a successful model. And to be transparent, I'm trying to leverage it, but there's certain policy restrictions and so on that, internal within Army. But what we envision is that this marketplace will mimic that Amazon-like platform, easy to use, and when I say it's not an ST3 marketplace only, that's not what we envision. It's just an ST3 or PAC2. This is more of a modeling simulation marketplace. Again, just similar to our drone, UAS. It's not just a CPE aviation marketplace. It's the autonomous type of platform marketplace that allows, the Joint Force, the Army, and anyone kind of maritime, land, and so on to do. So we envision that same kind of approach for LVC type of aspect to kind of help break that silo from a simulation community as well. And that's what we envision that platform is. So and that's what we want to talk about next week, just what out there, it's already in existing, this kind of concept. How do we get it faster? How do we develop it? And even if it's developed, how do we want to sustain that storefront or the mechanism? All that stuff is associated with that prize and potential agreement associated with that beyond the prize,
Okay, so then you're actually in search of someone that could provide a platform to manage that marketplace then.
Yeah, correct. So it could, again, it's a state of flux. I mean, do I need to have somebody completely developed one? Okay, let's look at it. See, somebody says, I'm going to create a new marketplace beyond, much better than Amazon. Okay, I'm not going to tell them no. Let us look at it, right? But if not, right, I'm trying to leverage with the Amazon-like platform, and I need someone like to kind of be that, because Amazon-like or anybody that develop these kind of sites and the kind of things, right, once it's developed, they don't maintain it, right? And we have to find a way how to maintain these things and so on, make sure that's relevant. So it's just a handoff. So that's what the thing I want to get that e-commerce kind of perspective one. And then the simulation perspective, and how do we fuse them together to build that marketplace? So what from a modeling simulation perspective, from a warfighter perspective, how to buy these training products, and then from an e-commerce type of perspective. So that's why I envision this tabletop and these industry partners we're bringing in this diverse skill set to kind of inform a solution, present something in terms of how we can do this, and then go from there.
Okay. Felicity, I like to pick on you if you're still here.
Hi, Eugene. How are you?
Great. So you have a whole suite of providers under Carousel.
Yes.
So what is going through your head right now?
Well, I've been taking lots of notes, and in fact, I was just going to send a quick note to the chat asking Marwan for his email, because we helped, we help with the commercial side marketplace for Amazon. We also help with the high side marketplace. We set up a lot of marketplaces for other vendors that have ecosystems. So could definitely talk to you about that. However we could help on that, would be delighted to have that conversation. And then I've been taking some notes, lots of really good questions and good data here. So I probably have, I think like 50 different vendors that would be interested in this, the document you had on the screen before. So I'm going to make sure I get that out to them as soon as this call's over. So just as always, Eugene, appreciate the conversation, appreciate the great speakers and guests you have on here and the business intelligence. Over.
Thank you. Great. I was hoping you would have a lot of people. So any other questions, any other comments, any other people want to ask about the pertinence of their technology, their solutions? Go ahead, Jeffrey.
Thank you, sir. Hey, appreciate everybody here on this call, and was a great discussion so far. I have got some questions here. I'm at a small business called Unified Point. We are, I noticed that a lot of the challenge items that you had here involved a lot of different types of systems. And thus, thus those systems are carrying out the mission of the applications that are running on them. And so the maintenance and operations of that infrastructure to keep it updated, alive, healthy, to meet the needs of those applications, because at the end of the day, your applications depend on your infrastructure, right? All your compute machines, wherever they're deployed, different size, shapes, everything like that. That those machines are needed to be healthy so that they can meet the needs of the applications and thus the users of those applications. So what we're building and have developed is a technology that's used at Google, but we're building this for everybody else. And what it does is it automates the resilience, readiness, and awareness across all of that critical infrastructure to maintain that it's healthy, operating successfully, doesn't have cyber issues on it, including the hardware and any infrastructure software that's running on it. So my question to you is tools that can provide predictive and preventative maintenance on all of that critical compute infrastructure be something of interest as part of this challenge?
I'll tell you, definitely predictive maintenance is of interest to us. We have a lot of compute. We have majority of our portfolio is really running on on-prem data centers, traditional on-prem data centers. I would love to have tool set from an IT perspective to allow us how they perform. The reason I'm hesitant is because the way that we're moving in is because we have a lot of our modern stack is being born in cloud within Army network, CDIO, ECMA, and so on. That's where we're driving a lot of our simulation capabilities. So we're using the Army CIO or CDIO kind of stack, if you will, within Army Cloud. That's why I envision a lot of these things should reside. Now, it doesn't mean that we don't have some edge cases, edge nodes for certain things, right? I mean, I do envision that's going to be both we're going to run some of this workloads inherently within on-prem, and there will be definitely some use cases within the simulation kind of aspect where we have to put it at the edge node, in which, preventive maintenance is always something that we're looking for,
Yeah, so I will just to add to it is the platform that we built is designed to manage compute machines where you have root access to. So we don't really care where the machine is located, whether it's a government cloud machine where you have root access to those, or whether it's on premise or whether it's some edge deployment environment. Our product is designed to manage the life and health of every component inside that machine to maintain those components' health and readiness. The one thing we cannot do is, because you don't physically have access to the machines in the government cloud, we can't, unless you connect your systems into your government cloud providers that allow you to send a ticket to them that says, hey, you need to repair this device, it's failed or it's about to fail, and you can send it to them to have them go fill it. We could create the tickets and automate the full remediation, including down to we can validate the repair was done correctly and successful, and then close the ticket. So we have full, identify root cause, create all the tickets for all the remediation, validate the repair, close the ticket. We just can't tell whether or not you would have access to be able to do that. But outside of that technology, we could still tell you what machines are healthy and not healthy within your cloud environment that you're renting machines from.
Yeah. So how about if I offer this, right? I mean, maybe, I don't know if you'd be interested, kind of I can probably have just a session with you and with my CIO team, and just kind of, I don't know if you have something you can demonstrate just specifically for that, it's, you see what I mean? If you have something, we can go look at it. Absolutely. Maybe it has more. I'm not looking at it from just this price, right? I'm looking at it for my day-to-day job, right? In terms of all the on-prem kind of cloud infrastructure. The compute infrastructure that we have for business applications and then for our mission application sets,
Yeah, absolutely. And just to let you know, we are also working with, we have an Army mission partner that we're working with in EUCOM. He's G2X setup and the team over there. We're also in connection with the Army G8s, both from the enterprise as well as the tactical comm G8s. So we'd love to connect with you and show you the same demo we've showed with them that they're very excited about.
Okay. Yeah, just feel free to shoot me a note, or maybe Casey will provide you my contact or link us, and then we'll just coordinate in my office and link you up with with the right teammate to to do that demo and have that discussion.
Will do, sir. Thanks for your time.
Yeah, awesome. I will, if you want to email me, I can get you over Marwan's information for that. And I just want to make it just from a legal standpoint, because our prize challenge is already live, legally, Marwan and his team cannot have like a one-on-one about the solution that you are going to, present. And because that kind of gives an upper hand, that's why we have to do it in a forum like this. For instance, a tabletop exchange as well, and he'll be able to kind of address that in a broad forum to everyone. He can say like, yeah, I think that's a great opportunity. I think, that's something that we would be, open to look at. And then you could submit that prize challenge, on our website. But as far as like the one-on-one, him saying, yes, submit this, do this, just from a legal standpoint. And that's why we just don't put his information out there. But for this instance, Marwan, absolutely, I will push your info to him. Just want to make sure we're staying in the clear,
Yeah, I want to clarify this, right, for everyone, right? I just want to. It's outside of this price challenge, right? I think what he's, whatever it is, just CI as an IT type of capabilities that we do day to day. So I think we would just probably, feel free to, just engage it outside of this price challenge, see what capabilities you have, and from other beyond this price challenge,
Okay, thank you.
Mr.
Rice, go ahead. Thank you for your patience.
Yep, pleasure. Sound check. You hear me okay?
Yes, I can.
Okay, thank you very much. So I represent Vantic. We have a number of customers around the globe as a TRL9 product that has been integrating edge deployed sensors of all kinds. And I think in a synthetic environment, it would have a lot of applicability to integrate and interoperate systems that weren't designed to talk to each other. So one of the things that was mentioned earlier in the chat was collaboration with others. Is it possible that the attendees who are open to collaboration, either we put our information out there for people to reach out to us, or we can reach out to those who are open to collaboration? How would you facilitate that conversation?
Casey, how do you want to do that?
Yeah, absolutely. If I don't, Eugene, I don't know how you send this out with everybody's information on there, but if you are open to collaboration, I would definitely highly suggest you putting your information and what your capability is here in the chat. And then that way everybody can see that. And if it is something that, somebody wants to reach out to you for, then you guys can, share contact information and come up with a solution if it's you want to apply to the challenge as a team. But I would say put everything in the chat here with what your expertise in, what your capabilities are, and like what you're looking for.
All right. Well, I don't know that I could put all that in there, Casey, but thanks, ma'am. I did drop my email and our domain link to our platform. Again, it's basically aligns with any and all use cases that have to deal with integration and interoperability, where time is of the essence. Short time frame hackathons, we shine. Just wherever there's been JADC2 type scenarios in the military context, I think the simulated environments, I'm happy to talk to anybody who wants to talk about it. Thank you.
Good. All right. So, Marwan, how are you on time?
I was going to jump in. I do have a hard stop here at 2:30. I got to jump into a different meeting.
Yeah, we'll go ahead. We'll go ahead and wrap it up then.
Please.
So everybody that's here, the Casey has put her email in the chat multiple times, I believe. You can register for the 15th for the on-site event or the virtual event. I will be attending that virtually, and you can always reach out to me, but I'm just going to end up forwarding it to Casey. So, if you want to put I don't have everybody's email addresses in here. I do that because I know people don't want to be spammed and stuff like that. If you're on here, I'm sure I have your email address and I can figure out who you are. But if you do want to be contacted, please put your email in here. Please reach out to Casey. Casey for the video and the transcript. Normally I would send that out to anybody that requests it. In this case, I'm going to ask that I be able to send it to you, and maybe you post it with the rest of your stuff, just so we keep everything on a level playing field.
Yeah, that sounds great.
Okay. So I will do that. I will make sure to set that up. Probably. Let's see. So you don't have access to DoD Safe, do you?
Yes, I do.
Oh, you do? Okay.
Yeah.
So then I can
Yeah,
send
you can drop it in DoD Safe and I'll pick it up.
Yeah, I'll do that from my Navy address, from my Navy email address. I'll send it. I'll send you a DoD Safe.
I just want to say thank you for organizing this thing. I think this is a great forum, to kind of communicate to our industry partners. I appreciate it very much. A great conversation, great questions here, and looking forward to next week. Right, I encourage you to attend. I mean, anyone that participated here to attend the tabletop, and we'll have a little bit more time to have that discussion. So I appreciate you guys very much today.